Okay, final round with blue-red Delver. Hopefully locking up the trophy after a 4-hour start. Well, this is the first time we had a starting hand that actually had a mountain but no island in it, which is a lot more awkward than having a hand with islands in it and no mountain. Still feels like this hand is worth keeping, because I have early removal, get to turn 2 Delver, then preordain into the second island most likely. Yeah, it seems keepable, but it's definitely a lot more clunky than my previous hands with only one of the 2 colors were. This is definitely the worst color to start on. But yeah, I get to like turn 2, kill their 1-drop and play a Delver. It's a pretty great setup to not fall behind in the game. Well, many decks are not going to be playing a 1-drop, but still. Even here, I get to resolve a Delver before they have Counterspell open, though I'm weak to Disfigure currently. With my Counterspells being pretty far away from being castable. Well, I can draw an island at any turn and then they become castable pretty much instantly, but if I have to preordain into my island, that means I take 2 more turns before I can cast them. Well, that's a bad spell to draw, but a good card to reveal, which pretty much any spell would have been. And there's my second island. I don't think I want the second Delver really. Well, draw developed pretty smoothly. Still don't have Counterspell open, so they can Doomblade or Echoing Decay or whatever my Delver if they have access to a 2-mana answer to it. But they're pretty far from any kind of Gurmag Angler. I don't particularly care about Augur of Bolas or Seagate Oracle. My Counterspell will be available by the time they hit Muldrifter mana, so that's unfortunate though. Yeah, I did not want them to have a 2-mana answer to the Delver because they had already confirmed that they didn't have a 1-mana answer. Not having any pressure on the board is awful in this matchup, though it also feels pretty desperate to just run out Gush this turn. I think I'm passing on Gush for a single turn, just making my land drop the natural way, and then next turn, if I don't find something to do, I will have to main phase float and then Gush, because without a creature I'm pretty much hopelessly lost. Well, maybe they're missing land drops without the Muldrifter, that would be great, though. Okay, as I say, I do need to find a creature. That's the most awkward creature to find, because I can hard cast it, but then I don't have Counterspell backup. I know my opponent's missing land drops, and I want to play around their Counterspells, but okay. I think I'm doing it. But this can backfire pretty easily. They just have another Trainer's Edict or Echoing Decay or whatever. Disfigure, and it's pretty awful to have put this onto the board so that both the ninjutsu ability and the ninja don't get value. Well, they had to top deck this though, they didn't disfigure my Delver. So they had like 2 draw steps to find a disfigure or something, maybe 3 draw steps. I'll go for the Ash Burns now, and then I guess my next draw step is going to be Brainstorm to punish me for my correct, but like my correct play that is against my instincts, that I'm trying to train myself into. Yeah, feels bad. I need a cheap creature to put onto the board so that I can ninja it back. Augur of Bolas would be the best thing. Drawing too many red cards in this matchup is a disaster. I do want my one Brainstorm pretty badly. Brainstorm into Augur or something would be amazing, so that I don't have to spend a land on shuffling, but instead can shuffle or like virtual shuffle off of the Augur trigger. And then have a creature on the board that gets value when bounced with Ninja. It played around Augur. I mean, not it's possible, but they could have killed my Delver while I was tapped out with the Disfigure. They went turn 1 Dismal Backwater and then turn 2 Bodruka Bog, and they could have used the Dismal Backwater to kill my Delver if they have Disfigure in hand. And instead they let me untap. If they let me untap and with the plan of Trainer's Edicting my Delver, that just runs into me having Counterspell open by turn 2. Or their turn 3, whatever. Like, they're giving my counter magic a lot more power than they necessarily had to. So I think most people would correctly go for Disfigure turn 2 there. So I think it would not only be a mistake by my opponent, but also a mistake that very few people are ever going to make. Because the people who are like aware of counter magic are going to play around it, and the people who like are not playing that well are just going to fire off the removal spell at the first possible moment as well, because that's a very common habit. So it's possible. Obviously, never say never. People can have cards in their hand and play them in completely different ways that you don't expect. It's definitely always possible, but I think it's highly unlikely that that happened. I think they just didn't have Disfigure in their hand on turn 1 and turn 2, and then fired off Trainer's Edict because it was their only removal spell, and then drew a Disfigure somewhere in between. Okay. Well, I got rewarded here. I decided not to keep open red because I felt like it was unlikely for me to cast any of these red cards, even though I have multiple stuck in my hand with just a single red source. I really wanted, for this, it's kind of like a 25%er or something, or maybe much less even, maybe like a 15%er to find the second counter spell. But I wanted to be prepared for this happening, so that I can keep double counterspell open. I guess I let it resolve and just protect my ninja with double counterspell, because the ninja hit is much more valuable than this evoked Moldrifter. I mean, it's card advantage for them. It could be alright to just counter it. Yeah, maybe it was better to counterspell, they counterspell back, and then I let that resolve, so that they're fully tapped out, because it opens up my mana on my turn. That's a decent possibility. That I should have counterspelled to pretend like I'm fighting over it, but I wasn't really intending to. I just wanted to get counterspell out of my opponent's hand. Still feels good to be ahead on the board here and have double counterspell back up, and I get a ninja hit in. Okay, yeah, that feels amazing, though I might be discarding to hand size. Or I run out Augur. Yeah, Augur protects me from Trainers, though I open myself up to Essence Getter or something. If I hit, then I'm in the same position where I'm discarding to hand size. I guess that didn't really solve much, but I am protecting myself from Trainers. So sure. No, I don't have double counterspell open, but if my opponent's... do I want Scred for Gurmag, Angler, or Lightning Bolt for their face? I think these two are the only ones that I can discard. I think one Scred should be fine. Sure. And I have more in my deck in case Angler actually does become an issue. And I can't even cast multiple Screds in the same turn. Yeah, that should be fine. Especially with them not having an Angler in the previous few turns. Well, I guess this last turn and this turn are like the first two where they really could have cast one. pretty interesting game already. Felt pretty hopeless when I had all red cards in hand and nothing going on, but like Augur into Ninja was a great way to catch back up in card advantage and in tempo, and now I'm ahead on the board and they have to react to what is happening to catch back up. Is this a Winker's Justice? No, it's just an Angler. Sure. Once again, do I want to fight over this on my opponent's turn to pretend like I care? The downside is if I pretend like I care and they just disfigure my ninja, I'm pretty sad. The upside is that if I just untap and scrat, then they can counterspell on my turn and it kind of ties up my mana. But yeah, still feels safer to just scrat it. And then it's uncertain whether they try to protect it or not, but at least I get the weaker card out of my hand and I don't run into disfigure for no reason. That's a decent draw, allows me to put more pressure on my opponent. Yeah, that's the downside, I'm kind of tying up my counterspell mana here. So that I'm tapped down further and it's much more difficult for me to develop a hand that is now very stacked. Not that that's a bad thing. Well, second Augur is something I would rather put onto the board than Delver. Delver puts more pressure, but this resolving already creates value, while Delver resolving could just run into a removal spell. Yo, Delphax. And what else was I gonna say? Oh yeah, it doesn't open up if Inker's Justice to be a 2-for-1 because I'm putting a bunch of 3 toughness creatures onto the board and flooding the board going wide without Evinkar's Justice being a catch-up mechanic. I watched your Modern stream yesterday, that was pretty nice. I only caught like 1 round of it, but I hosted the stream and commentary was good, gameplay was nice. So yeah, I like what you're doing there. Was a fan of it. I should be watching more of it, but the time zones kind of make it difficult because it's super late for me whenever your tournaments are hosting. Another Angler. Well, got punished for throwing my scrat away when I decided that it was unlikely for them to have a bunch of Anglers, and then they went Angler into Angler. Well, can still just let this resolve and look for the second scrat out of my deck or try flying over something. I don't think I want to start counterspelling Anglers when this is my last counterspell. I would rather make sure that there's never any Muldrifters resolving or anything. I think that's the main goal of my deck in the matchup, is to stop their card advantage generating cards much more than their random win conditions that I don't particularly care about. Oh, I have to watch the VOD then. I missed your round, but that sounds cool. Which round was it? Then I can check the VOD. Assuming it's online, then I'll take a look at it. Okay, Scrat was exactly what we were looking for. No shuffle. Brainstorm's also pretty nice. Okay, Scrat you. Round 3, okay, yeah, tuned in for round 4, I think. Well, I guess I stacked this incorrectly, assuming my ninja does get a hit in, but then things are great anyways. Like, stacked incorrectly in terms of my Delver can't transform then, because I end up drawing the spell and the land is on top of my deck, so then I would have to fix the top of my deck with Preordain afterwards. What are they trying to do? 3 mana? Recall their own Angler? Really? Recall your Angler. Sure. Sure, you got it. I don't think I want to be countering that. I can even let them recast the Angler and counter it on the way back down, but yeah, this still feels like they're just being run over. Even if I let them resolve the Angler again, even if I make a ninja attack into the Angler and then bolt it afterwards or something. Feels like they're just super crushed at this point. Yeah. Yeah, I guess I'll bottom, even though the second red source is actually not that terrible. Do I need double counterspell open during my opponent's turn? I think just casting Delver is probably better. And then I brainstorm to set up Delver Flip. I guess I can do the brainstorm now and just pass with a single card as well open. Yeah. Yeah, I hope so. You definitely deserve it. Okay, so can bolt that, can ignore it, start flying over. Sure. Once again, I just want to stop Muldrifter from resolving. Okay, so they reveal the counterspell. Unfortunate, though I think I'm once again going to pretend care over this, just because it's mana efficient for me, and then I trade counterspell for counterspell. And I don't really care about the Angler resolving, but I care about the counterspell in my opponent's hand, so baiting that out is nice for me. And like the Angler resolving part of this is completely irrelevant to me. You borrowed Affinity, how did it go? Did you enjoy it? And also, like, how did you perform? Yeah, so now we just fly over and burn them out, and things should be easy going from here. Just put this onto the board, have spellstutter support, have counterspell support, bolt into bolt. They're pretty screwed. And like getting through on the ground is no longer a concern. Just need to counter Muldrifters and Vinkar's Justice, and everything else should be pretty irrelevant. Guess I can afford to run out these preordains, though I know the card on top of my deck is useful, so it's not even that great to preordain. Yeah, Gush is also nice. I didn't play land yet, right? No. Yeah, I guess then I can just Gush. Why not? Make sure that resolves. Well, maybe I'm discarding. No, I'm not. 7 cards. Yeah, I didn't want to discard to hand size, but this is perfect. In paper, are scratches expensive? Or do you just need them because you don't have them, but they're not expensive? Din Rover Horror. I guess that's worth countering because it resets my Delver and it's like a nuisance on the board, and then they can only cast things that cost 2, so they're deterministically dead because anything they cast that costs 2 is going to run into Spellstutter. So they need 2 spells that each cost 1 for them to have a chance, like Disfigure plus Dispel or something, and both of those they would have used at an earlier point, so yeah, we got there. Stormbound guy seems nice. Pyroblast is a definite must. Relic of Potentials also seems useful. And that's pretty much it. Lightning Bolt seems pretty bad. Doesn't really kill anything. Well, it does kill Augur and Muldrifter, but I want to stop those from resolving rather than fighting them on the board. And then I could see cutting down the number of Augurs a little bit, though they do offer me some Edict protection. Oh, I see. You don't have any comments in stock. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, the ordering and like paying shipping part of buying paper Pauper staples is like the most annoying part of it all. Mostly you're paying more for shipping than for the actual card. So that's why I like having Pauper decks in paper, but I hate buying them because you always feel like you're like overpaying. Yeah. So whenever you find like a bunch of them at the same store, you feel like super lucky because you save up so much on shipping. So let's see. I can see cutting like 2 or 3 Augurs, but they also like bounce off of each other pretty nicely. And they give me some ninja target. Maybe the fairy miscreants are just too low impact. one scred less is also fine, because I don't want to be flooded with removal, though having some number of answers to Gurmag Angler still in my deck seems important. Okay, I'll cut 3 Augurs, I don't know. Once you're, well, maybe, no, never mind. I want to cut 1 land, I think. Maybe. No, my land count is already so low, let's not do that. I mean, it's a Turbo Xerox deck, you're hitting your land drops off of cantrips. And in the late game you might be flooding out, but Gush and cantrips and all of that still mitigates a lot of it. Though it's possible that cutting the second mountain is reasonable, because you don't really need multiple red in a turn all too often unless you specifically draw 2 Pyroblasts. And drawing a mountain naturally is pretty annoying, as is seen here, though even with a single island I would likely not keep this hand, because it's not a particularly good hand. Okay, this is keepable. No Gush. Okay, yeah, well then you should probably invest in some Gush, in some Scred, because the deck is amazing. And yeah, $1 for a Scred sounds like a pretty decent deal. Probably want to just Delver and put them on the back foot. No. Anything I go for is pretty awkward. Okay, I think I'll Ponder actually, which is the least pressuring line of play. But I wanted to go no creature so that the Chainer's Edict on turn 2 is awful, and then go Fairy Miscreant on turn 2 so that I can put both of them down and they can't be interacted with a sorcery speed removal, and then I end up getting guaranteed value out of them, and then my opponent's Chainer's Edict end up still being awful because I have these on the board to soak them up. That was kind of the idea behind the sequencing, though that line of play is a little bit vulnerable to Shrivel. And now my Ponder is pretty awkward also. Like, evolving wise it is a land and I need a land, but it's such an awful land, and the ninjas are also pretty awful. I think I'm going high variance and just shuffling this, though that can backfire pretty badly. Never not greedy. Suggest for someone getting into Pauper. Well, what's your biggest concern? Like, learning a lot about Pauper or having like a cheap entry point? What type of decks do you play in other formats? Like, Pauper is a pretty wide format, and pretty much everyone will find a deck that accommodates their playstyle, but it's difficult to answer that question without any more information of what you really value. The decks that are competitive, I think Blue-Red Delver is amazing. Mono-Blue Delver is pretty strong as well, though I think it's slightly weaker than Blue-Red, though it's also cheaper. Red-White Monarch is very good. Tireless Stripe combo is very good. And then Stompy is reasonable, though I think a little bit weaker than the other 3 I just named, or the other 4. Boggles is a reasonable deck, though weaker. Like, Burn and Mono Black and Tron are like all popular decks, but I think they're significantly weaker than the top 3 decks. Burn is a deck that exists in Pauper. I think it's a lot weaker than it is in Modern in comparison to what else is going on. There's also a Zoo deck. I would recommend you just check out MTG Goldfish and look through the list, because there's a lot of variety in the format. But yeah. Yeah, there's definitely a deck for you, regardless of what you play in other formats in Pauper. I'm in a pretty bad position here, though. Well, I guess I'll just YOLO Delver. It doesn't do a lot towards helping my position, so maybe like Fairy Miscreant into Fairy Miscreant with the extra draw towards the land is slightly better, but at least this puts more pressure on my opponent, and yeah, the Fairy Miscreant was likely to run into the Chainer's Edict. Previously my line was supposed to play around Chainer's Edict, but here I kind of gave up on it because preserving the Fairy Miscreant was actually more important. Okay, that's pretty great. Things are getting slightly better. Though I guess all these spell stores are a little bit awkward. It's still super interesting. Like, I'm making my land drops now, but I can go like Fairy Miscreant this turn, Relic of Progenitor this turn. I guess my opponent is at 4 mana and 3 cards in graveyard, so actually Relic of Progenitor this turn seems pretty appealing. Then I want to cycle this into a red source so that I can deal with my opponent's Muldrifter Hardcast on turn 5. I never had a 24-hour stream. I had a 12-hour stream that was like 2 weeks ago or something. And this is not planned to be a 24-hour stream, what I'm doing today. But I'll probably just finish off this league and then at least take a break to get some food. Not certain yet. And then it will end up being something like 7.5 hours. So no 24-hour stream is like planned for somewhere in the future when I have enough subscribers to meet the subscriber goal, but at the moment I'm not just doing 24-hour stream willy-nilly. It's pretty exhausting to do those, and you need to put a little bit of planning into them. Also need to make sure I don't time out though. Okay, I'll go with the instinct of throwing these back for now, and then probably redrawing one of them instead of upkeep shuffling. Yeah, I wanted to attack my opponent's graveyard so that we can work our way through towards the Trainer's Edict at some point, as well as keep them off of Angler this turn, because my spread is not nearly at a high enough land count to contest the Angler. Yeah, exactly. That was the goal, soul manipulation. It's not good for me. Maybe I should have upkeep shuffled then. Okay, let's run out this Fairy Miscreant. I don't really see a lot of point of having spells to destroy open during my opponent's turn. I really want to have Pyroblast open though for potential Muldrifter. Yeah. Yes, Sacred Coconut. That is the plan. Oh yeah, that it's true. It's like in 2 lines, so maybe I should do something like like no line break. There we go. Something like this. No, it's still not that clear. I don't know. I'll work on my layout at some point, just completely rework it. Also get myself a green screen so that I can like have a little bit more flexibility with less like bordering around it and just show like just show gameplay basically, with like the chat being truly transparent over the Magic Online and then like my face somewhere floating around. Yeah, I will change the message at some point, but I have to think of something smarter to do. Opponent tricked me, not really, but they like exiled their Forbidden Alchemies and their Trainer's Edict to finally get this Gurmag Anger onto the board, which is pretty annoying to me. But I guess that's the world we live in. I have to build up to 5 lands. Yeah, I guess that's a decent improvement already. Chat is smart. That's already much better. Yeah. Still probably don't want to sack this right away. Maybe I do, because I do need to get to 5 lands, and I'm not even certain if that was better or worse for me than like I could have responded to their alchemy and exiled 2 of their cards, and then they end up with 5 cards in the graveyard, which are Chainer's Edict. Well, no, the Chainer's Edict would have been gone, but like alchemy, 2 lands or something. And then they're unable to cast Angler, but I don't have a relic anymore. Okay, never mind, I do have a relic again. I'm not certain if that would have been better or worse for me in the long run. Thank you for your follow, Sacred Coconut. Do have to watch my time. Okay, I think I'll just tap out for this and get the hit in, because I do need to find the 5th land. Though it's pretty awkward that my means of protecting, well, that's not a great way to find my 5th land. Relic number 2, no, probably not. My means of protecting the Scrat is Pyroblast, so with a single red source that's going to be difficult to pull off. So yeah, Fairy Miscreant getting extra value here could be nice. Teachings, oh, they do have Teachings as well, that's pretty greedy. I'll let this resolve though, I think. No, I probably should have Pyroblasted it because of Disfigure. Not certain. I don't really care about the Disfigure that much. Actually, this is fine for me, because like Ninja was not going to get a hit in ever, so I think them searching up Disfigure is actually better for me than not having the Pyroblast. Like, Duress on Pyroblast was better for them than Disfigure. So countering the Mystical Teachings would have ended up working poorly for me. All that follow, let me check. I'll try not to time out here, and then I'll check all the follows. Thank you for following though, all of you. Okay, there we go with the 5th land for the snow count. And get that out of here before they have counter backup. They still have Soul Manipulation in their hand that I know about. And then I guess I'll Relic. And then try to sack my Relic probably. I mean, this is pretty weak turn in that I'm exposed to Muldrifter. But I get the Mystical Teachings out of my opponent's graveyard before they can flash it back. Resolve this before they can contest the other Fairy Miscreant. So my board position is still pretty nice. And yeah, the Gush. No, no. Well, I was going to be tapped out of red mana regardless, because I did need to deal with the Gurmag Angler, but this is awful. Especially because now if I kill the Muldrifter, it ends up landing in their graveyard, and then it's a valid target for the Soul Manipulation. So I hate that that happened. That is basically the one thing that you never want to happen, is resolved Muldrifter. And if I lose this game, even though I'm then only going to be 1-1 in the match overall, that makes my game 3 situation pretty bad, because we might be timing out. Chainer's Edict, my random 1-1 fairies. Do I care? I think I want them to Soul Manipulation. Like, I don't care. I don't truly care, but once again, I'm doing this to make my opponent do something back. Not because I care about this spell, but because I care about the spell that is about to appear on the stack above of it. I think. That logic kind of stops working when my opponent refuses to respond. Like, if they keep their Soul Manipulation and just let this resolve, I'm in a worse spot. But if they do Soul Manipulation this and I get it out of their hand before they... What? Okay. Sure. This is still enough to counter it. I'm not sure why you would use that Doomblade, and that Doomblade timing especially. It seems pretty strange. Okay, okay. I think I'm just hard casting Gush at this point as like an end of turn test spell, but yeah, my time situation is awful. I kind of have to win this game, and I'm pretty disadvantaged in terms of being able to win this game against their 7-card hand when I'm flooding out and they've created enough card advantage that most likely they're able to out-control me. So maybe I should just concede even though I have a reasonable chance of winning this game. Or I have to accept the fact that I'm playing on it and I'm hopelessly lost in a game 3. I could have searched for the second mountain. Maybe that was, yeah, that was probably reasonable. Yeah, I probably should have searched for the second mountain. Just because did I have the second Pyroblast in hand already? I felt like Counterspell could be a reason, and chaining cantrips into each other is always a reason. But yeah, it's possible that was a mistake, and I should have just had the second mountain. I fetched on turn, or like with 5 lands, and I had 3 islands, mountain, and an Evolving Wilds, and I could have definitely searched for the second mountain, though it still ends up working out here. The turn where they resolved the blue spell that I really cared about was the turn where I tapped out, so regardless it would have not made a difference. The Muldrifter would have always resolved, because I would have had the second mountain on the board, but it was going to be tapped. I think that's a reasonable triple block to make to get this off of the board for pretty much free. I mean, not for free, but trade my 1/1 up. No. Ah, damn. Yeah, time's going to be an issue. I mean, that's pretty nice sequence of draws, but Ninja was important, yeah. Okay. Guess I just have to Pyroblast down this Muldrifter and start going on the beatdown plan. Get my Ninja hit in. Which is already quite a bit of value. So yeah, value game I caught up pretty nicely, but I only have 1 piece of interaction open this turn. That's pretty awkward. Having 1 more land on the board would have actually been great. Yeah, I definitely could have had a mountain. I'm just not certain if it was correct to get 1 or not. Yeah, but the Scred was already being cast that turn, so I wouldn't have ended up having multiple red cards in my hand from that point on. Though I did end up drawing like a second red card right after. So it did end up backfiring. But there's definitely like these types of turns where it's super blue intensive, like having Spellstutter, Counterspell, Preordained Ponder, Brainstorm being all sequenced into each other. Usually you don't want double red. As I said, like the only reason to ever want double red is to have 2 Pyroblasts in your hand, which ended up happening, but it's pretty rare. So yeah, I think trying to win this game is a better chance than trying to time out. Or trying to not time out and just go to game 3 right away. I have a reasonable chance in this game. Just Dispel, please. So that I can Spellstutter. Could have also just gone for double Spellstutter so I get to 3 fairies. But this is better against like a follow-up 2-mana interactive card like Echoing Decay or Chainer's Edict or something. I don't know. It's difficult for them to attack because my attack back gives me an extra card, so even if they get 5 damage in and I only get 2, it still ends up being favorable to me. Though Angler definitely good roadblock with me not having that many Screds left in my deck. Only 2 more ways of getting it off of the board. Just want to fly over as much as possible. Find like a Stormbound Geist of my own. No, don't Muldrifter. Don't Muldrifter, please. Well, it looks like second Angler, but that's still very annoying. And difficult to beat. Because then their first Angler can start attacking and I currently don't have a way of beating either of them. Yeah, definitely in trouble here. Well, that helps a little bit, but I'm quickly forced into jump blocking. And my racing situation is not that good with 4 damage in the air against their 10 damage coming at me every turn, and also a bunch of Radiant Fountains. I think Radiant Fountain is awful actually, but especially in blue-black. I think Radiant Fountain is extremely awful, but ends up being pretty good for them here. Yeah, I think I take this and try to get a ninja hit, and then after the ninja has drawn a card, I can jump block with it. Maybe find that one gush. Also, this is like, not gush. Well, gush is also useful, but I mean scred. This is vulnerable to Doomblade now, or Disfigure, but so be it. Okay, work. Nice, nice. No, no, that was awful. I really needed to hit there, and even needed to hit a relevant card, I guess. Well, that's pretty all in. Maybe I should have kept an extra spell starter back. Though, I guess if they had another removal spell, they would have just dealt with my spell starter in response to the trigger, so they don't have an instant speed removal, and their sorcery speed removal is like all Trainer's Edicts, which I don't care about, because I can sack one of the tapped creatures. So it should work out. 5, 6, 7, 8. So if they make me double jump block... Oh wait, I can Pyroblast my Stormbound Geist and have lethal, because that's 6, 7, 9 damage. That would be pretty sweet. Okay, let's do it. They have to encounter my... This is 9 damage, so now they need an instant speed answer, which they didn't have previous turn. Come on! One-time dealer. Yes! Trophy time! That was a pretty sweet finish. Pyroblast my Stormbound Geist for the last point of damage. Wow. I did not expect to win that game too. So many things going wrong. So far behind on pretty much every turn of the game, but yeah, this deck has some insane turnarounds by chaining like cantrips into each other. You just go from a terrible hand to an awesome hand so quickly, and you turn to throw so many cards. Though just spells that are sprite as a tempo swing is so important. Really think that's the most crucial card. All the cantrips are nice, but like Spellstutter Sprite is the biggest blowout. Allows you to go from being defensive to aggressive so quickly. Just invalidates a bunch of opposing decks that can't really win without their 1-drops. Nice. Well, I usually don't open chests.